In the modern C-suite, there's one job title that seems to cause more confusion than any other, and that's the Chief Digital Officer. I mean, what do they actually do? Are they a tech expert, a data guru, a marketing genius? Well, in this explainer, we're going to cut right through all that noise. We'll show you exactly how the CDO is shifting from just a digital fixer to a full-blown business transformer. All right, let's kick things off with a pretty staggering number, 83%. Get this, that's how many large companies now have a chief digital officer on their team. The role has absolutely exploded. But here's the crazy part, the real paradox. Even though almost every big company has one, there's still a ton of confusion about what they're supposed to be doing. And hey, it's not just us saying it. This quote from Harvard Business Review just hits the nail on the head. The CDO job is terribly ill-defined. Think about that. And this isn't just some academic debate, right? This confusion leads to real problems, frustration, unclear expectations, and honestly, a lot of very smart people leaving their jobs way too soon. Okay, so how do we actually get a handle on this role? Here's the plan for today. First, we'll tackle that identity crisis head-on. Then, we'll talk about the CDO's new mandate for transformation. After that, we'll look at the three main faces of a modern CDO, map out where they have the biggest influence, and finally, cover how they actually prove their worth. All right, let's dive right into that identity crisis. To really get it, you have to understand this core tension that's always been at the heart of the role. This constant battle between playing defense and playing offense. So check out this contrast. Playing defense is all about preventing problems. The necessary but not so glamorous stuff like data governance, quality control, making sure the systems work. It's often seen as just a cost of doing business. But playing offense, that's a whole different ballgame. That's about actively creating value. We're talking about using analytics, AI, and new data products to drive growth. And that right there is the key. The modern CDO has to live on the offense. And look, this shift from defense to offense, it's not just some minor adjustment. It's a complete game changer. It's created a brand new mandate for the CDO, a mandate of transformation. It's about evolving from being just a digital specialist to becoming a true business leader. McKinsey has a great way of putting this. They called a modern CDO the transformer in chief. And I gotta say, I love that phrase. It perfectly captures the new reality. Their job is no longer just about fixing tech problems in some siloed department. Nope. It's about leading massive, fundamental changes across the entire organization. We're talking about changing how the business operates, how it competes, and yeah, how it wins. So what does this transformer-in-chief actually look like in the wild? Well, they usually show up in one of three main flavors, or archetypes. Let's break them down. First, you've got the transformer. This is the person you call when you need bold, radical change, and you need it now. They're all about challenging the status quo, blowing up old ways of doing things, and building entirely new business models from the ground up. Honestly, think of them as the company's internal disruptor. Next up is the integrator. This CDO is a master at connecting the dots. Their special skill? Taking all those rich customer insights and weaving them directly into how the company actually works. They bridge the gap between what customers want and what the business can deliver, making everything smoother and more responsive. And finally, we have the orchestrator. Just like a conductor with an orchestra, their job is to get a whole lot of different, talented people to play in harmony. They're experts at building networks, getting buy-in, and aligning the entire organization, from sales to engineering, around one shared digital vision. Now, it doesn't really matter which of those three types a CDO is. They all need a map. They need to know exactly where to focus their efforts to create the most value. So, yeah, that's the big question, right? Where do they actually have influence? What's their territory? Let's take a look at the key areas. Well, according to research from Harvard Business School, it all boils down to 4 interconnected spheres of influence. Think about it like this. At the top, you have the visible stuff, the data products that people actually use. Underneath that, you have the data assets and platforms that make those products possible. The foundation for everything is solid architecture and governance. And, maybe most importantly, wrapping around all of it is organizational readiness, making sure the whole company is actually equipped to use this stuff. Or, if you want a simpler way to think about it, picture this. The CDO lives right at the intersection of 3 massive domains: Technology, customer experience, and growth. They're the critical link, the connective tissue that makes sure all three are working together to push the business forward. Okay, but let's be real. All this talk about influence is great, but it doesn't mean much if you can't show actual results. So how do the really successful CDOs prove their value? How do they communicate their impact in a way that the rest of the C-suite, especially the CFO, will understand? Let me give you a concrete example. $90 million. That's how much additional annual profit the CDO's team at Vista was able to document. And how they do it? It wasn't by just cleaning up databases. Nope. They were laser-focused on creating data products that delivered a clear, measurable business impact. So what's the playbook here? It's actually pretty straightforward. First, you measure the business impact of your big, showpiece lighthouse projects. Second, you've got to track adoption. I mean, are people actually using the tools and platforms you're building? And third, you calculate the cold, hard cost savings that come from better architecture and governance. It's a powerful way to demonstrate a clear ROI. And this quote from a veteran CDO, Bill Groves, just says it all perfectly. This is not a service organization, it's a transformation organization. In other words, the CDO's team isn't just an IT help desk you call when your email is broken. They are your strategic partners in building the future of the entire company. So, there you have it. We've defined the modern CDO. They're a transformer who plays offense, fits into one of three key archetypes, and crucially, proves their value with cold, hard numbers. Now that we have the framework, let's see how it plays out in the real world. Next up, we're going to dig into how a massive company like Nestle put these ideas into practice to scale up their transformation. It's going to be good.